Yeah, tilt the cup too.
This way?
That looks good.
Hey everyone, it's Audrey, and I thought it was time for me to do an updated editing video because I've switched up my kind of process ever since I made the last one, so let's just get into it. First, my equipment, and I'll try to link everything in the description in case you want to grab it as well. My MacBook Pro, I have the 13-inch with the touch bar. Headphones are Skull Candy, and these are the Riff Wireless in white. I like to wear blue light glasses whenever I'll be staring at a screen for a long period of time as well. And my camera, which is the Canon EOS R. I already have a detailed video on this camera and lens back when I first got it in 2019, so you can check that out if you want. But I love this camera, it's great at picking up sound. I don't use another mic with this when I'm filming. As for my editing program, I use Adobe Premiere Pro, and I'm just going to start with the basics. If you're interested in learning more from me, I can definitely go more in depth on how I create certain effects and transitions. Clicking a new project, I'm just going to name this Editing and hit OK. This is what my workspace looks like, and I'm going to import my video files by dropping them here. But first, I'm going to create a new bin to keep just the raw footage organized. Any other files or effects will go outside of this bin. Once everything is imported, I drag all of the files into the timeline over here and change the name of this sequence to footage. This sequence is where I'm going to log, assemble, and make a rough cut of my video, which essentially means I'm going clip by clip and making cuts, only keeping what scenes I want. Since I'll be using the sound from these clips as well, I'm also listening to the audio, cutting out what I don't want, and just keeping everything together as I go along. This probably takes the most amount of time, it's very tedious, but I made it a little bit easier for myself for this particular video by filming in the order I wanted it arranged, so there's really no need for much assembly because the files are already in the right order. I'm really just paying attention to the pacing and pauses and making sure the video makes sense to me. I'll share the final cut after this tutorial, but just kind of quickly going through it. All of these scenes kind of transition into one another to unfold the story I was trying to convey. And I just do this with the rest of the video clips until I have an entire rough cut. Using this small sequence to demonstrate the next step after the rough cut, this is where I move on to color grading, transitions, text if I'm planning on adding that. I won't go too in depth on that for this video. I actually like the colors of this video already, so I didn't do much in the way of color grading other than color matching. The way I do that is that I make sure that I'm in the color tab, and then I go over to the right and click on comparison view. As you can see, it splits the video preview in half, so it's side by side, and depending on what scene you're trying to match to what, I copy and paste the time code of whatever scene I want to match the color from to this space at the left. And I can drag the marker to the scene I want matched, and it shows here on the right. I like to do this by going into Effects and using the effect Lumetri Color and playing around with the settings there. You also have the option to click this button here that says Apply Match, but it's pretty rare for me that I like that. I'd rather make subtle changes to the footage using effects on the left, temperature, tint, exposure. Like I said, I won't go too in depth on this as that could be a whole other video. If I want to apply the same effect to a bunch of different clips rather than copy and pasting that to every single clip, I like to add an adjustment layer. Drag that over to the timeline just above my footage, add Lumetri Color to that adjustment layer, and play with the edits and see how that affects the look of everything as a whole. An edit that I like to apply to this adjustment layer is the faded film effect. It gives the footage this look I'm just a fan of personally. As far as other edits, if one or two scenes look off to me under this adjustment layer, then I can edit those accordingly on their own, rather than maybe having to fix a mistake I copy and pasted to each individual clip in the first place. So for this video, it doesn't have any music, but I wanted to share where I do find my music when I like to add that to certain videos. And I have a subscription to Epidemic Sound. It's pretty much just a place for royalty-free music and sound effects. You can browse by genre or mood. And then let's say that I'm looking for a sound effect. Say that I want a TV static sound. I just type that in, and then you can see that they have a bunch of sound effects to choose from. Now, I think I'm going to stop here because after this point, the transitions I like to apply and the effects I like to create are a little bit more complex to follow, especially if you're a beginner or just not really familiar with Adobe Premiere in the first place. For example, here I am creating my own transitions, and I like to do that using adjustment layers and keyframes. And I would say that's a little bit more advanced, not really a beginner's skill. At least I didn't know how to do that in the beginning. Something else I like to do is also create my own borders and frames. And you would need a basic understanding of Photoshop before you knew how to do that. At least that's how I do it. So I think I'm going to save that for another video. If you're interested in a specific editing tutorial on something, please let me know what effects you'd like to learn. I'd be happy to share. But anyway, the final step once I'm absolutely ready to upload my video would be to export it. And the way that I do that is by going to File, Export, Media. This little window should pop up. These are my settings if you want to screenshot this. It depends what I'm exporting for, but in this case it's YouTube, so I'll go with YouTube 1080p Full HD. Name it what you want, hit save, and then I hit Q. This exports my video through Adobe Media Encoder. I just make sure it's clicked and then I press play, which will then export my video onto my desktop. I like to do it this way rather than exporting directly through Premiere, because if I didn't, I wouldn't be able to use Premiere until the export was finished, and depending on your video, that could be a really long time. Again, if you have any other requests, please let me know, but in the meantime, here's the little video I made. Okay, I got it this time. You just have to guide me.
Okay. And tilt it.
Tilt it.
Yep. Yeah, tilt the cup too.
This way?
Other way, towards the pitcher. And then bring it in close. There you go. Oh! Oh, look at that heart though!
I spilled a little, but that looks very, very cute. Thank you.
That looks good.
I did it. Sort of.